Is this blood? What is this? Finding a secret trap door that leads to the ocean on Epstein Island was not what I was expecting to see. I mean, I think I might have found a bloody handprint on Epstein Island. What is this? Here's a picture that Epstein had hanging in one of his rooms, and this appears to be a very older man holding hands with a very young girl. Here we've got Epstein and I believe a child. I believe this is Epstein with a child on his private plane. It looks like they're standing at the podium in the White House press room. Jeffrey Epstein and a victim. I've gone through over 9,000 of the so-called Epstein files, and on today's show, we're going to take a look at some of the most disturbing photos and pieces of evidence that I have personally found in the files relating to Epstein Island, including the statues of disturbing deities, rooms full of masks and dental chairs, artwork with elderly men holding the hands of children, things that don't make sense, and so much more. These are the photos that the mainstream media will not show you, and the stories of the photos so disturbing that most politicians and news anchors don't even want to go there. Anyways, y'all, welcome to the show. My name's Colin Browen, and you're watching/listening to The Conspiracy Files. So real quick before we get into it today, if you want to listen to the show fully uncensored, I implore you, search for The Conspiracy Files wherever you get your podcasts. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever. Or if you want to help support the show and the work that I do here along with the team, please consider joining us on Patreon. You can get access to all of the videos completely uncensored, typically early. And yeah, almost all my videos are demonetized or age restricted or restricted in some way or another. So the people who have joined us on Patreon are helping us to continue to fight this fight. But I know you guys are here to see these photos, so I started going through the Epstein file drops, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago when they were really released. I can't remember the date. I know that the 19th, I believe, was kind of the date when they were supposed to have them all out. And where does the investigation stand right now? Well, the Trump administration is currently not releasing the Epstein files, even though they were legally required to. Like I said, on the 19th by the Epstein Transparency Act, which was signed into law, got an almost unanimous vote from Republicans and Democrats, which required the full release of all files and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein with, a few stipulations. But recently, Pam Bondi announced that they had uncovered more than 1 million new Epstein files from New York. And to me, that is a whole lot of bullshit. How do you just suddenly find 1 million files? Keep in mind, this is the Department of Justice who claimed that there was no further investigation needed back in July of 2025. They actually released that memo that stated, we don't need to look into this anymore. This is it. And that's insane to me. Insane that they actually thought that would work. But all of a sudden, even though they thought that no further investigation was needed, there's 1 million new files that they've never seen before. 1 million new files. And this is coming from Pam Bondi, who, remember, earlier in 2025 said, the Epstein list is on my desk. She was on the news saying that, and then all of a sudden, nope, there is no list. And yeah, Epstein never trafficked a single person. Remember, that was in that memo that the DOJ and FBI joint released. They actually said Epstein never trafficked anyone. He had 1,000+ victims, but he never trafficked a single one of them to a single person, which we all know is bullshit. But just keep that in mind, that as time goes on, the actions of the DOJ and the FBI at this moment are illegal. They are highly illegal. Every single day, every minute, hour, second that goes by while these files remain unreleased is in violation of the law. So I'm hoping that we can see Bondi brought in and held in contempt and maybe imprisoned until the files are, forcibly released. Because we need transparency. That's the whole point of the law. But we'll save a lot of those thoughts for later. Anyways, let's dive into this. So if you guys remember, in my last video that I did similar to this one, we took a look at the photos from Epstein's mansion in New York City, and there was a lot of bizarre artwork. That's something that I never see the press really bringing up or talking about, the artwork that's found throughout Epstein's properties. And there's a lot of disturbing art and photos on Epstein Island that I don't really see people talking about. Now, in that last video, we analyzed some photographs from Epstein's mansion that showed that he had a fascination with animals and skin, and he also had a fascination with predators and prey. And as you can see right here, this is the first photo. I'm trying to get it to, let me zoom in. There we go. This is the first photo from the island. This is a piece of art that is found on the exterior of one of the buildings on Epstein Island. You can see once again this motif of predators. In this case, I believe this is a lion and prey. And I don't know what this is, a gazelle, maybe. And it's just bizarre. People love animal art, and I get that. It's a pretty normal thing, I would say, to have artwork containing or depicting animals in your home or around your property. But with Epstein, you see these things like the skinning of these animals, their flesh being removed, and then you see stuff like this, the predators and the prey, which I think is extremely on the nose. And if you don't think that that was an intentional choice, I don't know what to tell you. And these are just things that, get skipped over, but I think are incredibly interesting. So we're just going to go down the line here. So photos. So here are some photos. You can actually see the investigator's arm and hand here. You don't really see that in these pictures, but this appears to be disturbingly Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell rollerblading with someone in between them. Now, who that someone is, I don't know. I'm going to assume that it is a victim, but the composition of this photo with the three of them being sandwiched is, disturbing to say the least. I don't know who this older guy is in the background of this image, but, you've got a typical childhood thing, rollerblading, a very innocent thing that Epstein and Ghislaine managed to turn into something much more evil. And only God knows what this person in this photo, this girl or boy, I can't really tell, would go on to endure. So here you go. You got some more disturbing photos that were found on Epstein's Island. I believe these are all victims. I could be wrong. But here you've got what looks like Epstein actually kissing one of the victims. That's redacted. This looks like it was probably in New York. You got someone dressed like a Disney princess with their face redacted. This is Epstein's mansion, I believe, in the background. And this is, Snow White that this victim is dressed as. You got some girls that it looks like Epstein took shopping. You've got a girl in a bikini talking to another woman. And then these four girls all posing together. So a lot of pictures of women and groups of women, which is not normal. Keep in mind, people, that is not normal. And I don't really know what the official FBI story is. Like, did they think Epstein just brought these children, teenagers in and just assaulted them one by one, completely unconnected from the others? I mean, I don't really understand what their story is, because clearly you can see in almost all of these pictures there's more than one woman or victim or girl, however you would refer to these people. I don't know their ages. And they're all together, seemingly on trips or parties or different functions. You're going to see Disney come up as a motif throughout some of this Epstein stuff. It's pretty bizarre. So here you got some more photos from the island of young-looking people and or girls. I think these are completely naked, I can assume, girls on the right side here. You've got these three young-looking girls, women, hugging somewhere on a trip. Here's, I believe, Epstein's plane, or it could be someone else's plane. Lots of faces redacted, but this seems to be some sort of a dignitary visit. There's the Snow White pic, and then this person, whoever this is, boy or girl, I can't really tell, but they seem to be very young. And we don't know who they are due to these redactions. But, I mean, just look at this. This clearly looks like, I wouldn't say necessarily like a child, like prepubescent, but definitely appears to be maybe a teenager or a very young, very, very young adult. You can't really tell. More photos here from his photo collection. Here's Epstein, I believe, on the subway with another, I don't know, I can't tell the age of this person, but they're redacted. Here's two more people. This looks like a man, though, in shorts with what looks to be a younger girl. And then, yeah, well, one thing I didn't point out before that I thought was interesting was this frame. This seems to almost be a reference to the temple on Epstein Island, which we're going to discuss in a little bit, but it's that same blue striped on the temple. It's white in between, but yellow and blue, which I just find to be curious. And then, now this is disturbing. This appears to be a picture of a very pixelated image of Epstein with a very young girl. I mean, just by looking at this, I'm inclined to say that this girl might be 10 to 12 years old. I can't really tell. Maybe this girl is older and sitting down and Epstein's like standing above. But it doesn't appear that way to me. This appears to be a young girl, a child, sitting in Epstein's lap, and he's kissing her head. And let me remind you, we've never really heard that Epstein has any children or relatives that would be in these photos. So we don't know the identity, but just based on looking at it, this appears to be an extremely young child that Epstein is kissing. Which, yeah, I wonder if they've actually tracked down who these people are, or if they never have, you know. Those are things you just wonder. Here you got what looks to be maybe like a receipt that was found on the island from the yacht harbor in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands nearby. And then just some different notes. Carpentry, heavy equipment, the Amex card. You see just a bunch of notes here on Epstein's desk, which I thought were interesting. Here's a picture. I don't know what this is. This was found printed out March 8th, 2019 on the island. If anybody can offer some clarity on what this is or why this picture would be here, I just thought it was interesting looking. And I do not know exactly what it is, but there's an Apple ID and I believe the login to the Apple ID right underneath it. So to me, that was also curious. So here, these appear to be hard drives that were linked into a surveillance system that we're going to talk about later, but just look at, there's 6 individual hard drives. I don't know if they would be called hard drives. I know people are probably going to get mad at me technically for calling them that. I don't know what these would necessarily be called, but there seems to be an order here. The 6 bays, 146 gigabyte drives, building 2, room E, zone B. So this is clearly talking about rooms that I believe are being video recorded. The live feed or the monitor, I think it's being recorded onto these drives. I don't know why they would have this unless it's, you know, technically maybe referring to where the server room was. But with Epstein, we know that Epstein was blackmailing people. We know that he was collecting videos and photographic images of these high-profile individuals and guests having fun with children. Could these be the drives that he was collecting the blackmail on? I don't really know. All right, now here's an interesting one. So these are watches that were found in one of Epstein's desks, his bedside desk drawers. This watch, I believe, is a very expensive watch unless it's a knockoff. I mean, I think all these would be decently expensive. Something interesting, though, is that a lot of these watches seem to be really chunky, right? They're really chunky. They're big, heavy watches. And if you actually look through a lot of the pictures of the girls, the victims that are found in Epstein's properties, they're almost always wearing a watch, a big, heavy watch. And there's a creator on TikTok named Becca Day, who I follow, who made a video recently talking about these watches. I mean, first of all, this seems really strange. Like in your bedside desk, in your drawer, this is what's inside of there. Just these weirdly laid out watches and a bunch of them. I mean, I don't know anybody who rolls out of bed first thing in the morning and straps a watch on their wrist. I mean, it could be some weird habit of Epstein's, but these also don't look like the watches that he would wear. And what Becca proposes in her video, due to some other things that she's covered on her TikTok in the past, what if these watches were video or audio recording devices? What if Epstein was having his victims wear these watches so that they could record the conversations that they were having with the prominent men, so that they could potentially record video of the prominent men doing what they were doing to these girls? Even if it's not necessarily like graphically sexual, if you catch a politician who's married speaking graphically to a young woman or even a child who might be wearing this watch, That would be, in my opinion, very valuable blackmail. And it is weird. If you look at the pictures of the victims, it seems like they're always wearing these big chunky watches. She also, Becca, proposed that these might be embedded with GPS tracking devices. So maybe Epstein would have his victims wear these watches when they went out with these men, so that he could track them at all times. But I do find it curious. I mean, we know that those devices are real. We know that obviously they can have audio recorders and watches, video recorders. I mean, I have a set of car keys that's a secret video recorder that I've done some work with in the past. I have a pen that's also a secret video recorder. So these watches definitely could have been either built with that in mind or retrofitted with some sort of recording gear or a GPS tracker. But we just don't know. Those are just things that we don't know. And I don't know if they would ever actually reveal, but it is interesting because this is right next to the bed, and I definitely have never seen a setup like this in my life. Okay, so we got in one of the rooms here. Another vibrator. Epstein really seemed to love having vibrators. If you remember in the mansion video, there were a bunch of vibrators and sex toys everywhere. This is just in a random drawer. Here's another drawer nearby that's got, as you can see, KY jelly, some Marlboro cigarettes, some Zantac, antacid. I don't know what this is here, but a little bottle of some sort of fluid or substance. A loofah for the shower. Miralax, just some random, I guess, nutrients. Or what would that word be? Random supplements. But the KY being by there is obviously a big thing. And then here's another drawer with another vibrator in it. I don't know what this thing is that's in here. Bustman? B-U-S. I can't tell what the rest of that word is, but it's right next to the vibrator, which you can see is conveniently already plugged into an extension cord for one of these parties, so they don't need to be tethered to a wall. Just the random kind of disturbing things you find on Epstein Island, I guess. And here again, here's where that vibrator was found for some context, just in one of the drawers in one of the bathrooms in one of the cabins on the island. So I know a lot of people believe that there are tunnels on Epstein Island. I believe that there are definitely some passageways that they've never revealed to the public, whose existence remains secret. And there are a lot of pictures in here that show that there were these subterranean hidden levels, floors, rooms, tunnels, if you will, underneath the island. Like here, you can see this is kind of a back passageway on the island that leads up to some more rooms, or a room area, and another passageway. And you also come back to rooms like this, which are obviously mechanical, kind of industrial rooms, but at the same time, what could a room like this have been used for? Completely private, big open area, locked away from everyone else. If there was some real dark shit going on at Epstein Island, I feel like it would happen in rooms like this. Maybe if someone were silenced forever. And there's a room with what appears to be a bloody handprint that we're going to see later on. But I mean, this could be innocuous. It could just be a normal room. But when you're dealing with Epstein, it seems like everything is not exactly what it seems. And I wouldn't just write off things like this as being what they appear to be, because oftentimes they're not. Here's another secret room that I found, the end of a tunnel. And once again, who knows what could have happened in here? I mean, it gets real late at night. One of the politicians Epstein knows has a kink for murdering children. And Epstein says, hey man, I got this little secret room back here and a little surprise for you. Why don't you come on back? Leads him back here. I mean, you could continue even having a party upstairs if that's what's happening. And there's one guest with these darker inclinations. And you bring him back here and the kid could disappear, or the victim could disappear. Anybody could disappear. So I think it's interesting that there are a number of these spaces that were photographed that are in the file releases. And it appears to just be some sort of storage, but like I said before, things just aren't always what they seem. And then, here you can see this is the entryway to that last room I showed you. It's literally just been busted out of the wall, which I found to be eerie looking. I don't know what this stuff is on the wall. Maybe dirt or something. It's weird. I don't really know. I don't know what to make of all of this, but it is strange that this wall is just busted through. And if you remember in my last video, Epstein loves the color blue. And you're going to see a lot of blue on this island as well, starting with, I guess we can point it out here. Here's the first blue. I don't know where this came from, if this was like the old doorway or if something was painted on here. I don't know what that is, but as you can see, it's blue. So here, this is incredibly interesting to me. This appears to be a trap door on the island. I don't know what room this was in. I can't remember. This is like an industrial room in just one of the off buildings with a bunch of the kind of materials and storage and just industrial kind of machinery in it. But right here, you can see these are clearly like rungs from a ladder, and you pop open the floor right there and boom, this appears to literally be a trap door down. I have no clue where this goes to. And there's no further clarity. There's no picture of what is under there. I don't know what's under there, but how disturbing is this? I mean, not only could you torture a victim using something like this, but you could also dispose of a body extremely easily using something like this. I mean, you could do really anything. You could probably, I'm assuming that this connects to the ocean. I mean, obviously it does, but I'm assuming that there's like a passageway or maybe a tunnel that goes out to the ocean, because clearly it's going underneath the building, which is just freaky. But I don't know. If someone knows what this could be used for, maybe someone in the comments section who is familiar with, I guess, islands and operations like this, if they have any ideas, I would be more than happy to hear from you guys about what this could be. But seeing this, my stomach just sank because it's just so weird. Why is this here? Like, it's just going out to, I believe, the ocean, right? Or I guess maybe like a water tank. I guess it could be a water tank. I don't really know, but it's just freaky looking. It's definitely, finding a secret trap door that leads to the ocean on Epstein Island was not what I was expecting to see. All right, so now we get to one of the most infamous parts of the island, the temple. And this is interesting because we've heard testimony about what's inside of the temple, but I don't believe that we've ever actually seen the interior of the temple. And I haven't really seen people talking about it. So this is a classic kind of Epstein Island image. You've got the geometric patterns that are in front of this temple. And then at the very top, I believe this is the highest point of the island, you have this building, which is literally painted. Like, this appears to be wooden doors and everything, but it's painted in almost a cartoonish way to look like this. And it's just up here at the very tip of the island. And I've heard people for years say this is where the parties would happen. There's an elevator in this building that goes down to the secret tunnels. There's this and there's that. But nobody to this day really knows the real use of this building, or why Epstein had it built, or what function or purpose it served being on the island. And as you can see, it's very bizarre. And then here you actually have on one side, this appears to be a window. Once this was removed, that kind of fake faux painted on door. And we get inside finally to the interior of the Epstein temple. Now, some weird geometry going on here, weird colors and designs. It's obviously a very, very tall room, and it just screams evil to me. It just feels dark and evil. And if these windows like this were covered with those doors or whatever they were covered with, I mean, I would imagine if you're inside of here, it could be nighttime at any time of the day. It could be completely pitch black if everything's shut and sealed. There would be no light coming in. You've got a grand, what looks like bookshelf or cabinet here. I don't know what these things are. These chains that are hanging from the bookshelves, from the shelves, I guess I should say. But they look to be old rusted chains that are just hanging here. They got some seashells. And very, very ornate woodworking here. Notice how one side is twisted and the other side is straight. I don't know what the symbolism would be of something like that. But here's some more up close shots of the temple. You've got obviously wiring in here, things that can be plugged in. So this place could have been wired. I mean, I'm sure it was wired with AV and video. This to me looks to be a microphone cable. Basically, like, it looks like the end of a cable that you would plug into a microphone. I could be wrong about that, but it looks like what I would plug into this to get this audio. And then you've got obviously audio jacks right here. So there's some sort of audio going on here. I don't know if this is a setup for a speaker system or if this is recording into somewhere. I don't know the specifics of that. I can't comment on that. But clearly to me, this looks like a microphone cable and then these audio jacks that would plug into like your iPhone or your iPod or even a recording device. They're like headphone jacks. Then on the ceiling of the temple, I've never seen this. It's incredibly compelling. You have got astrological symbols of the stars. Clearly Epstein had this painted, but I mean, Capricorn, you've got the goat, you've got all these different Sagittarius, all these different Greek mythological figures and stories, Scorpio. This looks to be an angel, Virgo, Ursa Major, dragons, all these animals, ancient ships, a Templar cross, which I found to be interesting, geometric designs like the triangle. And this was on the ceiling of the Epstein temple. So clearly, I believe you're meant to lay on your back when you're in this temple so that you can see this. And I don't know why this would be here, to be honest. It definitely doesn't help debunk the claims that Epstein was into some weird occult esoteric shit, though, because this is a very, very specific thing to have painted on your, obviously, ceiling. And Epstein was known to be a fan of Greek myths and mythological figures. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, his partner in crime, they were obsessed with Atlantis. If you actually look at Jeffrey Epstein's property in New Mexico, the Zorro Ranch, he's got what appears to be, I believe it's a hedge maze that was constructed in the shape of an ancient mythological map, which supposedly shows Atlantis. And Ghislaine was involved with a ocean charity, and she really, according to reports, admired Jacques Cousteau, the explorer, who I believe was friends with Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell. And I think Ghislaine was good friends with Jacques Cousteau's daughter. I can't remember her name, but there are a lot of ties between Epstein and Ghislaine and the search for Atlantis. Ghislaine had a license to pilot submarines. She was able to drive, or whatever you'd say, pilot a submarine. So a lot of people also believe that there was a way for submarines to get into Epstein Island and that they were trafficking children in that way. But you'll see on the property as well here, just on Epstein Island, that there are other mythological figures from ancient Greece represented. And you also saw that in my last episode about Epstein's mansion in New York City. He had lots of these mythological figures from Greek legends, and even Kronos he had up there, and he's just got a lot. Pan, we're going to talk about that. And I found this to be just really bizarre. You know, this is, of course, on the ceiling of the Epstein temple. I've got an electrical box here showing that there are, obviously this place is rigged and wired with electricity. We don't know what else was plugged in. Here's kind of a closer shot of the Epstein, the ceiling of the temple. You can see here all the different constellations, all the different Greek myths. Hercules down here. I believe this is Medusa being slain. Just lots and lots of different pieces of symbolism. And I'm not an expert on Greek mythology, but pederasty was huge in ancient Greece. Adult young boy relationships were common. It was a power thing. There's a lot of complexity there and nuance to the issue and the history, but a lot of admire the ancient Greeks because of this kind of prevalence of these adult young boy relationships that were found throughout ancient Greek culture. So I do find it interesting whenever these freaks are obsessed with ancient Greece. It's intriguing. It's just another little rabbit hole you can go down. So here's more of the temple, kind of a side view of this shelving, another view of the temple. I don't know if they were doing construction at the time that the island was raided or what was going on here, but I've never seen things like this. Cement boards. I think this is just the interior of the walls. Then you got, don't know where this came from, but I believe this is 6 mattresses stacked on top of each other. I don't know if these were found in here. I don't know what the deal is with these, but these appear to be obviously mattresses that I'm assuming were in the temple at the time that the island was raided. Explanation on those is non-existent. I don't know if there were victims sleeping on these. I don't know if they really did have these parties in the temple. I don't know what exactly they were doing in here, but I do find it interesting that there are mattresses present in this notorious space on the island. Here's just some more pictures so you can see the rest of the temple. I found it very interesting to look through all of these because I had never seen this stuff. There's the mattresses again. Here's another view of this bookshelf or whatever you'd call this bookcase. Another view of the window with the mattresses. It's a pretty small space when you actually look at it from the inside. Same here. Here's a table with what appear to be monster feet. I don't know whose feet these could be, but they clearly look like monster or demon feet. And also keep in mind a very low table. This is not a table that you would sit at with chairs. So what is the purpose of this table? Why was it here? Was this some sort of altar? Was this a ritual thing? Was this a part of the orgies? I don't know, but it's extremely low. So keep that in mind. A chair, if you sat in a regular chair, you'd be way up above the table. So you had to be on the floor, I'm assuming, to make use of this thing. Another view, and you can see some of the lights that were inside of the temple. There's another view right here taken from the angle of the beds, where the beds were. Another view from the outside looking in with this door popped off. More of the exteriors of the temple. And yeah, for seeing this for the first time, I was absolutely shocked. Now, what could be behind the bookcase? That is something we don't know. Is there an elevator in this room? We don't know. Is there a secret passageway or something? Well, I guess I should say, yeah, if there was an elevator, it wouldn't be behind the bookcase because you'd see that jetting off the side of the building. But clearly there are still hidden secrets inside of this temple, things that are not yet explained and things that just don't make sense. The weirdness of the astrological painting, the constellations in the faux sky on the ceiling, the chains hanging from the bookshelves there, the weird shelves that are on the shelf here. I don't know what these are, why these are here, the presence of the beds, the really low table. There's a lot of just weird stuff in the temple that doesn't make sense. And you also have the sundial. Obviously, when it comes to esoteric thought and the occult, sundials are important. They are very meaningful. They're just ancient. And Epstein had a gigantic sundial on his island, which is just, to me, very strange. Why is this here? Why are there benches here in this way? Do they actually have like meetings out here? I mean, I could see it being some sort of a ceremony ground if you go with the ritual angle where these people would sit around here and watch something happening in the center. It's just weird. I don't know why they would have these benches installed at all these different angles. I mean, it's a beautiful view, I guess, of the islands and everything, but it just looks so weird and it looks so off. And for someone that's obsessed with different cultures and ancient Greece and mythology and what seems to be esotericism and the occult, this tracks. And I've never really seen a sundial on another billionaire's island. Everything here was built with a purpose and an intention. And what that intention was behind the sundial, I can't say for certain, but you can't you can't say that it is not really bizarre and just an overall strange thing to have on your private island. And you got some more art here. The E for, I believe, probably Epstein. These appear to be shells, unless there's something else and someone can point that out to me. Now, I found this to be really, really interesting. So you've got what looks to be like scientific equipment here on the island. This is just in one of the rooms. I believe this is kind of like a kitchen living area. I mean, you can literally see right here that there's a microwave above, but then here there's an ultraclave sterilizer, which, as you can see right here, is a popular automatic steam autoclave used in medical, dental, and veterinary settings to ensure instrument sterility through high pressure steam. So this is an expensive piece of equipment that is used to sterilize equipment. Like typically in a medical, I believe this might be the actual model he's got here. Yeah, looks like it's, at least similar to this. This is something that they would use to actually sterilize like tools like this. You can see this is the interior of a device like this. So what is this doing on Epstein's private luxury island, the island where he's supposed to be just hanging out with people and hosting these little events? Why is there like a scientific sterilization tool here on the island in what looks to be a kitchen area? And I don't know what this device is, but you can see BIOS something over here. So I'm assuming this is another piece of medical or scientific equipment. Really strange. We know Epstein was good friends with a lot of scientists. He kind of wormed his way into those circles, and he wanted to surround himself with intelligent people. He also was really into the idea of cloning himself, of seeding the human race with his own DNA. Those are known things that he was into. I'm not just making that up. You can verify that for yourself. And yeah, I just found this to be ominous and very strange. Why have an equipment sterilizer in a kitchen area on the island and have another piece of equipment that appears to be similar to that right nearby? If someone has any theory or idea as to why this could be, I would appreciate you letting me know in the comments. So here's something I found interesting. Here's just a security log. You can see Wednesday, July 31st, 2019. T. Maxwell on duty, 7 a.m., all secured. And tour of Little St. James with blank. Don't know who was here that day. All 10-4. ATV. Phil departs on PRD vessel. 1 diving boat spotted. Juggler's Beach. You can see they were really looking at the areas surrounding Epstein Island to make sure that it was secure at all times. You can see, again, Juggler's Beach clear. They're checking all of these areas. Rounds completed almost every hour. Really, really interesting to see how tight they were with the security on the island. Here we've got what looks to be the actual search warrant for Little St. James. You've got an FBI receipt for property received, and the FBI saying they took multiple Mac desktops, multiple HP towers, multiple iPads, documents, photos, and notes. Here you can see the FBI seized that stuff from Epstein Island. And then, yeah, this is the search and seizure warrant from the U.S. District Court for the Virgin Islands that was authorized August 2019. Important paperwork for what came next. So we've got another room here on Epstein's Island on a different building. Some weird figures up here. I don't know what you would call this. Not a balcony, but the top of this shelving. It's just weird, out of place figures. Once again, you see the blue. Here we go again. Blue frame, blue cup, maybe blue, whatever this is. Blue, tons of blue. And I thought this was intriguing because of these sculptures. Now, this to me seems to be another Greek mythological sculpture. There's also like an angel looking sculpture over here. There are these sculptures. I can't really tell what this is, but this looks almost like a human body. This is a head, clearly. And this looks to be an older man. And from what I can tell, are these kids hugging him? You see like a kid here reaching around. Maybe a kid here hugging this man's lap. I could see maybe a kid. I can't really tell, but this definitely has got to be something dealing with Greek mythology. If someone knows what that is online, letting me know, that would be great. And here we've got a safe that appears to have been cracked open on the island. So you can see J.E. Personal was on here, and I'm assuming this is CSAM just based on these slides. You can see that I believe in his safe he kept these slides of film. Why these specific slides of film were in the safe is something we don't know nor understand, but clearly a lot of this has been redacted and it looks to be some sort of disturbing material. Could this be the blackmail? Could these be blackmail materials? We don't know. Obviously, a lot of it's redacted, but these were in his safe, so obviously Epstein deemed these to be highly sensitive or controversial and thus kept them locked away from everyone else. And you'll see there was CSAM found all throughout Epstein's properties. He didn't always lock that stuff in the safe. So there was something special about these images and these strips of film. But exactly what that is or was, I can't tell you. So then we're going to come back to this later on. This was in the news recently because in one of his kind of hidden closets, Epstein had a printed out newspaper article of Princess Diana. And I think this is King Charles. We'll talk about that in a moment. Just obviously showing that he had some sort of an infatuation with the royals, or, wanted to remind himself that he had Prince Andrew under his thumb. Here's another view of that room that we just talked about. You can see there's another sculpture. This looks like a clown over here. Here's that head. And once again, I do want to remind you guys of what we talked about on the last episode. Epstein also loved to collect what looked to be human body parts. So he would collect the chest of a woman, kind of like just the chest and the breasts. He would collect heads of people, sculptures and art, I mean. There was a photo from his mansion of ballerina legs, what appear to be children's legs, sticking out from the wall. He always has these weird, deconstructed human bodies around his properties, whether they're the heads of individuals, the torsos of people missing their arms and legs, the genitals or private areas of people, like in his mansion in Florida. He had a pair of female, what I can assume to be female, butt cheeks on the wall, sticking out of the wall, I believe it was a bronze sculpture of just a butt. So you're continuing on with this motif here of the just the head or just the body parts, and we'll see that more later. You see another view here of this angel or whoever this is represented here. There's another head over here. And now I thought this was interesting. So can't remember what room this is in, but this is clearly recording gear on the island. You've got a Zoom recorder or just a basic voice recorder. I actually use these all the time for my ghost hunting, paranormal investigating, which I do on my other channel. So this is clearly an audio recorder. And then you've got a microphone right here. And before, when I said that the cord looked like a microphone cable, this is what I was talking about right here. So you have a cable here on the island. Actually, I never connected those two in the past, but this is plugged in. And then I don't know what's in this bag. There could be anything in this bag or this bag. I don't know what this device is. Personal planetarium. Okay, that's weird. So he's got another star projector. So he's obsessed with the stars, which is strange. And so he's got a galaxy projector in here, right? I think that's what this is, a galaxy projector. And then he's got the astrological, the stars, and celestial art in the temple, and the constellations, and then the sundial. So we're seeing a theme here. I don't know what that all means. But then you got a tripod as well, which is a little on the nose for blackmail, and I don't think he would have used this or been so obvious, but I do find it interesting that right here in this one photo on the island, you've got video recording gear and audio recording gear in one kind of hidden cabinet. So was this stuff used by him to record his guests as they engaged in deplorable behavior with children? We don't know. There's also a prescription that I found on the island for someone, Andy or Angela, I couldn't find this name, Rodriguez. We don't know what the prescription's for, but this was for someone that was on the island. A Rodriguez had their prescription there. Oh yeah. and something Rodriguez. There you go. And these appear to be little pills, maybe like an anxiety med or some sort of drug. But could Epstein have used these drugs to sedate his victims? Could he have drugged them? Could he have drugged the politicians to get them into a headspace where they were up for doing some really disturbing, dark things? We don't know. But it is weird to find a full pill bottle in Epstein's possession on the island full of drugs. You can see right there. But what the drug is or what it was used for, we don't know. So here's a view of the pool on the island. One of the pools, gotta admit, looks like a nice place to take a dip. If this island hadn't been used for pure evil and darkness, I mean, it could have made for a really nice getaway or resort. But clearly, it's been stained forever. So here's a picture on the island of a pilot that was found. We don't know who this is, why this picture is here, but clearly this is someone that looks like in a fighter jet or some sort of a jet. But the identity of the person is still, like I said, unknown. Here's a picture of what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 women all together. Their faces redacted. I don't know if these are victims. I don't know who these women are. They're holding a Siamese cat, and they got this picture above them. That's the problem with these files and these releases, is they provide no context. So we have no idea who these women are, why they're in this picture, what they're posing for. We don't know where this was taken. We just know that these people were important to Epstein in some way or another because he had these photos printed out and oftentimes displayed throughout the different rooms and buildings on the island. So make of that what you will. So we're going through some photos now. Here's another photo of Epstein heading the island. A bunch of monkeys coming down a path. Don't know the symbolism behind this. There's got to be some sort of meaning here. Very strange, though. Just a group of monkeys all wandering towards the photographer, printed out and hung up huge in one of the buildings. There are also photos here. I think this is Bill Gates with 2 unidentified individuals here on the island. Here's a picture from what I can assume is Zorro Ranch, Epstein's property in New Mexico. What looks to be a young girl on her phone in a car, maybe. It's too grainy to tell what these other pictures are. But to me, this is Bill Gates. I believe this is Bill Gates. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's who it looks like. And then here's a really disturbing picture. Here's Epstein on his private jet with a 100% child on his lap. This is definitely a very, very young kid, toddler, prepubescent, and Epstein loved this picture so much that he had it printed, framed, and displayed in one of his rooms on the island, and it's literally him with the kid on his lap. We don't know who the kid is. We don't know the context of the picture. I guess it technically could be a relative or a family member of one of his friends, but it's just never that simple with Epstein. And when you have a child sitting on his lap, I'm going to lean towards a darker implication there, clearly based on what we know. Can't tell who these people are, but I think we get closer later on. And here are some more pictures of Epstein. This is another pic. I don't know. I think this is Epstein. I don't think this is Clinton, but I think this is Epstein. And based on the height of this person, this is another child on the Lolita Express, Epstein's airplane. This to me looks like it could have been or could be a baby, like a really young kid based on how short they appear to be. And Epstein, the way he's looking down at this child, once again, printed out and displayed on his walls. Here's a picture of a random girl that's printed out and displayed. Don't know who that is. Here's, I think this is Epstein and Ghislaine maybe meeting Hillary. I don't know who this is in this picture. I can't remember. Or maybe Bill Clinton and Ghislaine meeting Hillary. Then you got some kind of weird shoes over here. And the books. Remember, I said in the last episode that I did, look at all the books. Epstein had hundreds, thousands of books at each of his properties. There's no way that he read all of these books. There's just so many books, and I think that he had them brought in, and this is just me hypothesizing. I think that he displayed these books to exude intellectualism, to appear to be smarter and more well-read than he really was. but they're everywhere. You look at his properties, he had tons and tons and tons of books. And why that is, I don't know. I can only assume it's because he liked to surround himself with these really smart people, scientists, researchers, professors, and maybe he wanted to come off as being more educated than he was. But just notice, you'll see it in a lot of these pictures, books everywhere. But I can guarantee you he hasn't read, but I can guarantee you he didn't read all of them. So here are some more pictures found on the island. Here's Epstein with, can't tell the age on this person. They appear to be pretty small. Could be a child, a really young person. Here are what I can assume are 2 more victims. This, I think, is a pilot's uniform, right? So maybe the pilot and then someone behind the pilot, but it's redacted. We can't tell. Here's this woman with a bunch of dudes. I don't know where this was taken. I think this is just another girl, a victim, another girl, a victim. And it is creepy to me. Epstein had so many pictures of all of the victims, and it's just weird. It's off-putting because they weren't pictures of Epstein with these girls. Oftentimes, they were just pictures of these girls. Now, that could serve 2 purposes in my mind. One, Epstein could have fetishized his victims and wanted to remember all of these people, and, you know, I don't know, that's going with the more like Epstein's a real human type of thing. Or it could be like a catalog for the powerful people that walked through these halls and stayed in these rooms. Like, you see these really young, attractive girls, children. Well, these could be yours. It's kind of like I said before, also with the kind of sexualized art that was everywhere in Epstein's mansion. I mean, yeah, he was definitely a pervert and a really evil dude, but it could also be something where Epstein was placing this stuff throughout his properties to get people into the mood, to surround them with sex and stimulation, to make them want it more, to prime them, to make them more susceptible to his invitations to participate in the disgusting, depraved debauchery. That's just my theory and my thoughts. And here we have another picture of Epstein from the island. Very, very young. I assume this is a girl. Can't tell an age. Looks to be a teenager just based on the small hand and the way how big his hand looks on this girl. And Epstein wasn't a big, tall guy. Keep in mind, he was a shorter dude. So for him to look big and for his hand to look big, that means that the person had to be small. So it's just eerie. It's eerie no matter what. And then you see, I believe this is one of those big watches that I was talking about. I should have been pointing that out, but here's another one of those watches. Ooh. So here we've got Epstein and I believe a child. I believe this is a child just based on how small this person is and how Epstein's holding them. I don't see people talking about these pictures, but this clearly looks like he's cradling a very, very young, I'm assuming, girl while he's wearing what appears to be a bathrobe. And based on his chest hair, he doesn't appear to have a shirt on. But we don't know the context of this image. We don't know who this is, but it was in a frame. And ironically, there's an American flag for American intelligence right behind him. But yeah, it's disturbing. We can't really tell what's going on right here or how old this person or child was or anything like that, but just based on how he's holding this figure, I mean, I'm assuming it's a kid, like a kid, not like even a teenager or a young adult. I think it's a kid. So then here we've got another picture from the island. Appears to be a victim, once again wearing childish clothing, down on her knees. I assume this girl was really young, but we don't know who she is or where this photo was taken or what it meant to him. Some more pictures. Once again, like I said before, just young girls everywhere and victims everywhere in all sorts of different places. They're never really in the same place. Like, I don't know where this is. This is clearly really high up somewhere in a penthouse or an apartment. Same here. This looks to be high up somewhere. There's big art behind this person. Another in a penthouse kind of area. Don't know where this is, but you can see the buildings in the back. Girl appears to be very young once again as well. And then you've got Epstein with an unidentified person. I think this is a victim at the White House, which is shocking. This looks to be the actual, the White House press room. I could be wrong, but it looks like they're standing at the podium in the White House press room. Jeffrey Epstein and a victim. Another picture from somewhere we don't know. I don't know where this is or where it was taken, but it's a bunch of young looking girls at a table. Looks like they just finished a meal of some sort. There's a plate here, but all these girls, they look like young women. Some of them potentially like teenagers. We can't really tell, but I'm assuming these are all victims because their identities are redacted. And another, here are two younger women, and I don't know if this is a child or not, but clearly you can see this figure is much shorter than these other two, and they already appear to just be younger. So I'm going to go with the fact that this is probably a kid, and it was hung up at Epstein's place. There's another picture of a girl in a foreign country, a young woman. It appears to be eating a meal. You can see this old iPhone, so this is a dated picture. Another photo on Epstein's wall, which depicts clearly, once again, a younger girl. Don't know the context, but she's got one of those big watches on. I keep forgetting to point that out, but here's another one of those watches. Flight attendant. I thought this one was peculiar because why is this blurred out? What's going on here? Why was this redacted? You can see this kind of, I believe this is a flight attendant on his private plane. Oh, all right. Now this is interesting. Let's turn this around. Is this an FBI jacket? I can't tell what this is. But if this is an FBI jacket, that is clearly something is... Damn, I didn't notice that before. Yeah, here's this person's holding a jacket. It looks like an FBI jacket on Epstein's plane that was printed out and in his house. And they're wearing a badge. Holy shit. If this is an FBI person, that's crazy that no one's talking about this. An FBI agent on Epstein's plane when people are accusing the FBI of obviously helping to run and aid in Epstein's operation. I didn't know why this was blurred, though. I don't know what the redaction is here. Clearly, there's an ID badge that I didn't notice before, and then a jacket, which looks to be FBI. So make of that what you will. Another photo of Epstein's victims that was printed and hung up, and point out here again, here's one of those big watches. Always the watches, always big watches. And you can actually see the photographer's reflection here, interestingly, which I didn't notice before. Another picture of Epstein with what I can assume is a very young victim that is fully redacted. And here's a picture on his wall playing cards with none other than Woody Allen. Woody Allen. No surprise to anybody that Woody Allen is in the Epstein files. I posted a video like a year ago about exposing Woody Allen, and I had so many people like, he was never convicted of anything. I'm like, the dude is clearly unbelievably creepy. I don't know if this is Sui. Is this his wife, Sui Previn? Oh my God, yeah, it is Sui Previn. This is her right here. Here she is, and there she is. And this was hung in Epstein's place. Now, interestingly, this is in Epstein's mansion because we talked about this art in the last episode being in his kind of Freemason room with the checkered floor. And then you've got here, they're playing cards in that area with those leopard chairs. I don't know who this is. Can't tell here because of this light or here. But this is definitely Woody Allen and his wife, Sui Previn. His wife who, yeah, there's a whole story that we don't have to get into, but this is a whole disturbing rabbit hole as well. We've got another picture from the island of, oh my God, is this the person taking the picture? This looks demonic. This looks kind of scary. Whoever's taking this picture, no offense, sorry. But this appears to be two victims. Once again, 1, 2. They're fully redacted. Another victim that's been fully redacted. A rainbow, I think, behind them. This more than likely is his ranch in New Mexico. A photo of a pelican. A pavilion on the island, which I thought was interesting. The use of this. I don't know what it would be used for. Maybe lunches, or even if it's nighttime and one of his guests wants to have some private time, they can head over to the pavilion. Here's another view of the pavilion from the interior. You can see it's pretty isolated. It's pretty alone. I don't even want to know what potentially happened inside of that little structure. Now here, I believe this woman worked for Epstein on his island. So this is her resume, Mila Tristeza. There's a plane ticket from New Zealand. We're going to talk about Mila in a second. And then it looks like some makeup. I don't know what this is. Could this be a whip of some sort? I can't really tell. But I think this is her application to work for Jeffrey Epstein. Experience, qualifications, and you see, here you go. I think these are scans of like her passport, scans of her debit card. It's really weird. Scan of her ID. Then here's the guy from New Zealand who I couldn't find any information on. We're going to get a closer shot of him soon. But really weird. Birth certificates scanned for these people. Their social security card scanned. This guy, Philip Anthony Baker from New Zealand. This is in Epstein's place. You got him here. This is his passport. Then you got his social security, or this is the woman's social security card, Mila Tristeza. Her birth certificate, her passport from the Philippines, a Florida driver's license, I guess her debit card, a permanent resident card from this girl. It's just, I don't know. I believe that those were employees of Epstein. I can't remember if I was able to track down any information about the guy from New Zealand. I found reports online. Some people said in a forum that they had found a man with that same name that had committed crimes against children. But I don't know if it's the same guy, or I'm not placing the blame anywhere. I don't know if I found out who that guy was, but all the stuff was with Epstein, and I'm assuming he was an employee there. He was employed on the island because the woman was, but I don't know. Then you got a paper shredder on the island, just a classic conspiracy visual of papers being completely destroyed and shredded. I don't know what he was shredding on the island, what the purpose was for this thing. And it's interesting because you'd imagine an island like this would be his big getaway place, like a vacation destination where he wouldn't be doing work. He's going out here to enjoy himself, to have stress-free parties. But then you got medical equipment, sterilizers, and shredded papers and kind of business areas. It's really strange. And of course, you got here a New York Post article about Epstein that's on one of the bedside tables with a Visa card and another watch, which I thought was interesting. This, I think, was an office on the island, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that's just in disarray on the island. You'll see in a lot of these pictures, so I can't really tell what this room would have been. You got notes here from July 7th, 2019. Work to complete included the library, the cabana, fuel storage, ventilation system, the gym floor, staff cottage, Q hut doors, blue beach something, and panels. Just a bunch of kind of mechanical office upkeep stuff. And then an old croissant. Thing was probably pretty nasty at the time when they took these pictures. Some more notes. I don't know what language this is in. So right here, we can see the lyrics to the Russian lullaby Bayu Bayushki Bayu were found in the Epstein files. So I guess this is a Russian lullaby. It's written Bayu Bayushki Bayu Nia Lazshisia Nakrayu. It's written in the notebook. The translated words are stressed. The second line is connected to the first with an arrow. So I guess this is a Russian lullaby, which is interesting. And I don't know what this stuff is. If anybody can read this or make sense of this, I can't really tell. But this looks like Katya, Sophie, Diane, maybe. Katya. I hope I'm saying that right. Her name was found in some documents in Epstein's house. So, I don't know. What's the meaning? Why is there a Russian lullaby written on that little St. James letterhead? Good questions. Masks. Remember the last video too, in Epstein's New York mansion, there are tons of masks and heads and eyeballs everywhere. And it seems like in every room, everywhere you go, you're being watched. There are always humanoid figures turned towards the guest to give them this feeling that they're always being watched. And here on the island, once again, we see that a lot. Here's another mask that's hung up in kind of an outdoor pavilion area and a mirror on the wall. More masks from that same area. These appear to be kind of tribal masks. They have so many different meanings. They can, be used to scare away bad spirits. They can be used to bring the wearer into a aggressive, warlike state. And obviously, if you're having a sex party and you're kids, maybe people want to obscure their identities and wear these masks. They could have served many purposes. They could be decorative. They could be used. We don't really know. But I found it interesting. There are masks everywhere. So then you got some potential pieces of blackmail gear. We'll talk about this more when we get to the Epstein blackmail gear section, but this was in one of the rooms on the island. And these appear to be kind of servers and data storage collection areas, potentially for gathering video footage and photos of the high profile individuals with children on the island. Now we got the Mona Lisa. I thought this was just weird and I don't know why, but this is in a storage area on the island with just tons of like random equipment and gear and supplies. And then just propped up right above the door is what I'm assuming is a copy of the Mona Lisa. Really weird, really strange. I don't know the vibes. I don't know why. But once again, she's looking right at us. You're being watched. Whether that's Epstein sending a message or not, I don't know. So you got here on the island, this appears to be a jacket from, this appears to be a U.S. Navy jacket. And this person appears to be highly decorated based on these kind of awards and this insignia here. Don't know who this belonged to. Don't know why this is here, but this is in a drawer at Epstein's place. Just a random, what looks to be high-ranking Navy official's jacket, which is just, once again, unexplained. Here's, as disgusting as it is, massage table. There are plenty of massage tables you'll see on the island. Tons of kind of weird pieces of supplies. The coconut oil down here. Tea gel. I don't know what that is. I don't know what any of this stuff is. But you can see the coconut oil probably used for these actions. And then we get to one of the creepiest parts of Epstein Island that I was not aware of before. And this is a room that appears to have a dental chair in it that is surrounded by masks of men. So, what's the use of this thing? I don't really know. Why have a dental chair, like a full-on dental chair with the light and the equipment clearly plugged in? It's not decorative. It's in the center of the room. The whole room seems to be like a medical room almost. Why have this on the island? What is the point of this? And then on top of that, what is up with these masks? Like, it's so creepy. You have in this room, like I just said, everybody's watching you. You are being watched at all times by these figures on the walls. And I've seen people online theorize that these represent famous people and there's different celebrities they think that these masks could represent. I've even seen some people say that these masks were people Epstein was friends with. I don't know the validity of those claims, but I do know that these masks are here in this room and they're creepy as hell, especially when there's this dental chair in the center of the room, which is creepy as shit. Now, one disturbing theory that I've heard people talk about when dealing with this set of photos is the fact that oftentimes bodies and corpses are identified by their teeth. And, if you were to murder someone a good way to get away with it would be to remove the teeth. There are a lot of killers that have tried to remove victims' teeth in order to abstain from being captured. So I do find that to be interesting. I don't know why they would go to such lengths to get a dental chair to properly remove the teeth, when if they did kill someone, they could just, as brutal as it sounds, rip them out or yank them out. But this defies all explanation, and I have no clue the meaning of this. I mean, look at these masks. Interestingly, here's a picture as you go through here. Here are those medical. So I guess this is the same kind of building room area. Here are those medical equipment cleaning devices. So then now you got actual proof that there are tools and items that are being used with the dental chair on the island. I mean, they're using these tools and then heading over to this room to sterilize them. So what tools are they using, and what are they using those tools for? That is the big question. And why the masks? Why the creepy masks in this room? As you can see, something else interesting is that these masks they appear to be hung just very simply on these hooks, which to a lot of people, including myself, makes it seem like they would be a lot easier to remove from where they're hanging. Now, why would you want to remove them? Well, if you were participating in some sort of illegal child orgy, maybe these men would wear masks. Maybe they would wear masks to disorient the victims. Maybe they would wear masks to scare the victims. Maybe there would be other people brought in to join in these orgies. I don't know. I mean, none of it really makes sense to me, but it's clear that these masks are not hung in a way that they can't be removed from the wall. Like, I have tons of stuff hung in this room you can't really see, but none of the things hanging in my room are hung on hooks like this. And I find that to be interesting, because you can see here, you can clearly remove these masks at any time if you wanted to wear one or use one. And they're so eerie. Like, what is the point of these? Why are these here? I mean, you really couldn't design a creepier room if you tried to, and they're everywhere. You got binoculars, glasses, umbrellas here. I think this is probably medical equipment. I don't know what's in these drawers. I might have gone through it already, but the masks are everywhere. Even in the bathroom, you can see here, there's a mask staring at you. I'm assuming there's a mirror here. This mask might be looking at you while you're down here at the toilet, or maybe the mirror is over here. I don't know, but the mask, the eyes are still watching you. So then you got some maps of the island. Now, these are all really intriguing to me, but this one was really intriguing because look at this. What does this say? Sacred or grotto? It looks like he was trying to build like an actual grotto on the island, like some sort of mythological ancient Greece looking grotto, which is really crazy to me. And then I think this is like the grotto pool. These would be the 4 pillars here. I wish this was clearer so I could see what this writing was, but it looks like you'd be able to enter this area and then there would be this pool. Now this looks very esoteric. This looks very, southern grotto. This looks very planned out. And then you can see here, the view to the sea is this way. What does this say? Like dripping something water? Looks like a waterfall feature. A grotto pool. Cross through. I can't tell. But then what's this? Is this a room that they were looking to build in the rocks? What is the space? I can't really tell what this is, but this was clearly meant to be above the grotto, right? I mean, I don't know what this is. Really strange that he was planning on constructing something like this. This looks like some ritual shit. And I'm not even one to just go out of my way to say Epstein was doing these rituals and blah, 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 but this looks like some mythological ritual shit. And to my knowledge, this obviously was never completed, but you can see 2002 November Epstein was looking at adding this onto the island. This like very mythical, magical looking grotto area. It's so weird. I've never heard anyone reference this or bring this up, that he was planning on creating something like this on the island. But you guys tell me, what's the significance of grottos? Is there a spiritual significance to grottos? Does this remind you of something magical, mystical, or am I just reading way too far into this? I don't really know. 2002 maps. These are just a bunch of maps of Little St. James that I thought were interesting, and you can kind of see the island growing over time. It's really too blurry to read all this stuff, but lots of building designs. I don't know if anybody online sees any tunnels or anything interesting on any of these maps. Here are the gardens that they're planning on building here. You got Leeward Forests, Palm Garden, the Great Steps, Secret Garden, New House Garden, Dryland Garden, Escarpment Stream, and the Salt Pond area, Manpoo Forest, or what does that say? Marmpoo Forest. Can't read that. The helicopter landing. It's interesting, all these little names and like what they mean. Italian terraced gardens and formal gazebo. They just really wanted to, I guess Epstein was really into gardening and forests and wooded areas and wanted to really pimp the island out. Some plans from 2000. I think these are the house plans for 2000. It's really interesting to see all these schematics. Once again, some more plans from 2000. I don't know. Jeffrey. I can't read this. But there's the helipad and the steps, and then you go into the house. Here's another map. I don't know what this is showing. Service corridor, maybe? Store or technical area? So the store. So yeah, these appear to be tunnels. I'm assuming. Don't let me tell you what they are. But you got maids, a corridor, laundry, storage, cold rooms. Yeah, these appear to be tunnels, I think. Ventilation, you'd need that for the tunnels. Storage or technical storage. All. What is this, a planted roof? To make it look like it's not there? I can't tell. If anyone can offer any clarity as to what this is. I believe this is tunnels under the island. I don't know, though. Then more helipad. Just some more. There's so many maps here. Like what the house was supposed to look like. Or the gym spa east. So you got the gym and the spa here. It's like too kind of tiny to see what this is. The dock, what they wanted the dock to look like. I don't think it ended up looking like that. Here's another overhead view of the island, which is just, once again, too blurry to really be able to make anything out. Another view toward the main entry, what he wanted all this to look like. Living room south elevation. This looks like a really nice property. Here's what I thought was really interesting too. So he had his temple. Obviously, we've talked about the temple, but here on the blueprints and the schematics, we see pavilion at cliff. I don't know of any extremely high cliffs on Epstein Island like this. I mean, I don't think they exist unless this is like really shallow or something. But what is this? What is this building? You got 7 poles here, and what appears to be a half-constructed building with a window, but right on the cliff. This, once again, looks to be some sort of magical, esoteric, mystical thing. I mean, this is clearly not some sort of normal rich person luxury area. I mean, you got these appear to be, I mean, at least from what I can see, wooden poles and a half-finished building with just a window and a wall on a cliffside. I don't know what that is. The pavilion at cliffs. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this brought up. If anyone has any idea what this could be or what this could be proposing, please do comment and let me know. But isn't that weird? I mean, it just gives me a weird vibe, like looking at this. Another view towards the proposed docks. Some more overhead stuff with the island. If anybody sees anything interesting here, please let me know. I think this is a much older map. Now, I thought this was interesting. This was in the documents with the maps, proposed cabanas, pavilions, pool, and a screening room. Now, screening room. We've heard lots of stories over the years, and I've talked about lots of stories where predators will take their victims and show them materials in screening rooms, whether they're in cinemas, adult cinemas, whether they're in their homes or whatever, to try to get them, to prime them to accept the incoming abuse. So I thought that was really interesting that Epstein in 2009, as you can see in this on this document, he was planning on adding a screening room to the island. I don't know if they ended up actually adding that and I missed it somewhere, but you see that all the time in these stories of abuse, that these screening rooms are where a lot of these things start. So to have one of those on Epstein Island, I don't think Epstein was bringing Bill Clinton and all these other people to the island to go watch a movie or a TV show. I mean, I'm more inclined to believe that if it's being built, it is going to be used for it's probably going to be used at surface level for its declared purpose. But then I believe that, there's always an alternate reasoning for why things were constructed on the island and why they were built or why decorations were hung in certain areas. And so I'm just more inclined to believe that, it might have been a screening room where they could say, hey, you want to watch a movie, you want to do this, but it could also be used to get things going, plus it would be private and dark and isolated. Typically a screening room would have no windows or anything like that. And then here's one more kind of overhead map of the island, which I thought was interesting to take a look at. So here we've got some machinery on the island. I don't know. I think this is in the dental room area. And I think this is dental machinery. If someone could provide some clarity on that, also, that would be great. Or no, skin, I see. Let's look that up. Oh no, it's Skin Act. That's what it is. Skinnessy. All right, so here's what this appears to be. This is like facial equipment. You buy it on Amazon, just like Epstein. Skin Act. So this is like facial equipment. Maybe they were using the dentist chair also for facials. I don't really know. I mean, it's just so weird. Like, I don't know the intended purpose or what they use this stuff for, but there's a lot of it. Then you got here in another room on the island, you got Voss water, of course, the water preferred by billionaires. Microcrystal dermabrasion. So that kit that I was just showing you had crystal in it as well. These look like VHS CD players. I don't really know. A towel warmer. I got my mom one of those for Christmas last year, amongst other things. And then some racks of equipment. I don't know if this is audio, video, recording equipment. I don't know if these are servers or drives. I couldn't tell what this stuff is. And then a safe box, a locked box. Don't know what's in there, but interesting, right? Here's another view of that room on the side of the dental chair. You got, I think this is an oxygen tank, a heater. I don't know what this thing is. If someone could tell me what this is also, that would be great. And the facial equipment, the massage table. There's lots of weird stuff. Okay, so another weird image. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what this area is. This seems to be a lunch area. I wrote down in my note, maybe this is somewhere on the island. But you can see it's very isolated over here. There's some chairs. We'll see, actually. Here's what it looks like to get up there. You go up to this area, up these stairs. You're completely, if you're in this room, you're invisible pretty much to anyone else on the island unless you were standing like right here looking in. But you got these sculptures, man. Like, I don't know what deities these sculptures represent. I don't know from what culture they come from. But you got a man, I'm assuming here, and then a little mini person on top of his staff. I don't know if that's supposed to be symbolically a child or what, but it's naked and it's on top of the staff. And then up here by the entrance, you've got a female who appears to be holding maybe a baby or a child. You can see she's got carved genitalia, carved private areas, and I mean, this could be a fertility idol. This could be a fertility goddess. I don't know what this is, but it's clearly very detailed, and these two are placed here very intentionally. You see this one when you're walking in, and then right before you enter, you physically have to pass right by this one to get into the room. And I don't know, it's just so strange to me. Something is just not right about this. I don't know what went on in this space. I mean, you can even see right here in the middle of the day, blue sky, shining sun. It's dark in here. So imagine at night if you took somebody, a victim or a child, out here to this area, and you walk them by these statues, and maybe you're esoterically inclined, or you believe in those sorts of things, and you're harnessing that power, or you're using it to scare your victims. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling when I look at these pictures that something bad happened in this area, and I've never seen it before. I had never seen it. So I labeled this island kill room. I know it's probably just a storage shed, but like I said, when it comes to Epstein and Epstein Island and everything, it's never really just what it looks like. So down this innocuous dirt path that really isn't even a path, you can see this is all kind of overgrown and it's not trimmed all the time or kept up with. You go down this on the cliffside and you get to this little room down here, which is completely hidden, completely isolated, no windows. I believe a door here, and then you can see some kind of industrial stuff here, some tubing pipes, but inside of the room is just this. Could be storage, but also could be a perfect room to kill someone. That's just where my mind goes with spaces and rooms like this on an island like this. Could be a perfect room to bring someone to assault them, where no one can see you, where the sound is pretty muffled and contained. Could be a good room to come and kill someone. Completely white walls all the way around, no windows, just the door. And nothing stored in here, no big infrastructure. I don't know what this is. I mean, maybe this is really important, but just weird to me. Just really weird. Here's another picture of that recording gear, and then, yeah, the personal planetarium. So kind of like a kid's toy. Epstein was obsessed with stars, astrology, Greek mythology. Here is a picture of Jeff Epstein, and so he's got a big watch there, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Then there, we talked about this at the beginning, them with the rollerblading victim, I believe. Then a letter to Ghislaine. Dear Ghislaine, I enjoyed writing Jeffrey a birthday letter and reminiscing about the past. However, if it is not what you had in mind, please feel free to edit it or tell me to write something else. I hope you can use the photos, the ones of the parachute jump and Wonder Wheel are Leon's from his childhood neighborhood. I thought you might find a place for them somewhere in the book. I'm looking forward to seeing the finished book. It should be very interesting considering the many different people Jeffrey has encountered throughout his life. Please keep in touch and let me know what I can do to help. Best, whatever, redacted. So another reference to another birthday book. One of the biggest videos on this channel was me going through the birthday book disclosures, which were very intriguing and very damning for a lot of people. But clearly there are so many other birthday books that we've never seen. This seemed to be something that happened all the time. Here we've got some, I think these are swim shorts, a bathrobe, and then these JEE quarter zips that Epstein loved to wear. Kind of extremely tacky when you think about it, just your initials monogrammed on a quarter zip. But yeah, this is kind of like his personal stuff. Interesting to see him all laid out, the different colorways he had. This is interesting. I don't know what this is exactly, but this was in one of the places, St. Petersburg, 1908. This thing cost $1,850. I don't know what it is. Tapestries. If someone could translate this or let me know what this thing is, that would be great. but this was found at Epstein's place, and you can see here, I think he bought it for $1,850, so it had to be important to him for some reason. Then you've got something else really interesting. You got right here, in one of Epstein's closets, you have an actual IDF, Israel Defense Forces sweatshirt that Epstein, I mean, there are pictures of him wearing, I don't know if it's this sweatshirt or different clothing, but you don't see this on the news. This is in his wardrobe, an IDF sweatshirt, and there's a cleaner view of it right here. Notice how he doesn't have Russian Defense Forces. He doesn't have Bulgarian Defense Forces. He doesn't have Nigerian Defense Forces. He doesn't have Chinese Defense Forces. He doesn't have Swedish Defense Forces. He doesn't have Mexican Defense Forces. He has Israel Defense Forces, an IDF, basically like the Israeli army sweatshirt. It's totally normal, right? Guess we can just move on with no comment there. Here's just some exteriors. I thought this was a house, but I think this is like a security building, a tech building. You can see just different angles. Notice the blue. Going to keep pointing out to the blue. We got some hard drives, tons of pictures of hard drives in here. I don't know if these are the blackmail drives, but you can see here, these are WD drives. I've used WD drives many times in the past. They're organized with these notes. I saw somewhere that someone had found a photo or a document that linked each of these drives to a different part of his island that he was recording. I don't know where that comes from. I couldn't tell, but here's kind of the blackmail setup. You can see that this is like a mangled mess of wires. This looks like an extreme fire hazard to me with this like ancient interface. But I mean, I believe that if Epstein was recording on the island, which we know that he was, this most likely would be the blackmail hub. This is where he would have been recording to. I mean, you can just see all these so many different wires and tangles of wire and different things. And I really don't know what to make of this. I don't know what all this means. I'm not a tech guy in that way where I, really understand what I'm looking at here. But yeah, you can see right here, this enter your name and password, username. It's like, this looks like something in Jurassic Park. Username, admin, password, Epstein 123. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the firewall router, switch, I don't know what these things mean, but I'm assuming, because these are where the hard drives were recovered from, that this is where he was recording to, and this is where the blackmail would be seen. Someone would sit back here. I don't know if it would be Epstein or someone else, but they would gather this stuff. You can see here, here's 2 terabyte. The hard drives are 2 terabytes, which for back then would be absolutely massive hard drives, and security camera footage, I imagine, wouldn't take up that much space. But Zone B, Building 2, Room E, and server rack position. I don't know what this all means, really. Yeah, these are the hard drives. Lots of them found on the island, as we've seen. What was on this hard drive, we don't know yet. Now, this is weird. I don't know what the hell this is, but this is in like a storage employee area. But look at this graffiti. It just says kid. And then what is this, child with like a bandana tied around their head? And the word kid on Epstein Island, of all things that could be written, the word kid is written on a cabinet. Who wrote this? Why this was written? I don't know, but it stuck out to me when I was scanning through these files, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And there's just no explanation. We've also got a gallery tag. So this came from 2nd Avenue in New York, from the Mirel Gallery. Happy birthday, Jeffrey. January 20th, 2007. Love, redacted. So this was clearly a gift from somebody. I can't remember what was on the other side of this picture. I wish I could go back and look. Now, what's interesting is they released these files and these pictures, and they had released some recently of Epstein Island, but some of these equations had been redacted. But there were other files that had already been released that showed that these redacted photos had been released already, completely unredacted. And so we're seeing an unredacted look at this stuff. And once again, I don't know what this stuff means, but Epstein liked to surround himself with intellectuals. We don't know who wrote this on the wall. We don't know what the context is, but it is really interesting. Like these kind of graphs, and then just like all these weird words around here. Beauty, dark brain, maybe. I can't see. Tire, matrix, miracles, mobject. I don't know what that says. Distributor, plant, appear, deception, power, music, brain. Like, what does this mean? It's so confusing to me. And there's a bunch of views of it, like intellectual, politics, physics, maybe. But then it goes to power, mirror in face. Put the mirror in your face and show you who you really are. I don't know. It's so weird. Truth. I mean, do any of you guys online know what this means? I'm sure someone has kind of decoded it. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find anything about this online. It's just kind of a mystery. But then you got some more really disturbing stuff written here. As you can see, this appears to be an older scientist or researcher or professor. I don't know. And he's looking right at this fully nude girl. Now this guy has glasses. There were some scientists and very smart people that Epstein was familiar with and friendly with that visited his island, not making any allegations against any of them. But there was Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, amongst others. And yeah, these equations are just, once again, I don't know what all this stuff means. Transaction layer, cam settled. I don't know what this writing is. But, I mean, it's an equation of an old guy staring directly at a naked young woman. So, yeah, take that as you will. Here's the staff manual for Little St. James. Here's just the lists of Epstein's residences, and I thought this was interesting. You got New York Estate, Little St. James, the island, Zorro Ranch, his estate in Palm Beach, and then an apartment in Paris, which I had never really come across an address for, which I thought was interesting. And then just kind of people, like there's an attorney, project manager, an estate manager, all the employees, like the pilot, Larry Visosky, who we've heard brought up before, all these different names. And when you look at these lists, you think all these people have been interviewed by the FBI, right? These people have been interviewed, but I don't know if they have been. That's the thing that's so messed up, is we don't know how many of these people they've actually talked to or what information they've gleaned from them. Because, I mean, this list could just be a list of people. Like, we don't even know if they've actually spoken to these people. We don't know if they've gotten information from them. We have no clue what the truth is here. And if you're actually investigating something like this, being handed a list of names like this, I would imagine would be massive. I mean, here's a list of leads for you to immediately begin investigating. But we don't know if they've even talked to a single person on here. I mean, I'm sure they've talked to Larry Visosky, but Guzneme Dalsey, Onel Pierre-Saint, Danny Vickers, Jerry Francis, Sheridan Ellizzi. How many of these people have been interviewed? We don't know. The list goes on and on. Look at this whole list. You could just, if you're the FBI or investigators, if you're really investigating, you could go, all right, called them, check, called them, check, called them, check, called them, check. Here's what they said, check, check. I mean, think of all these people who have probably seen and heard things, and we don't even know if they've been interviewed properly or brought in. So it's just crazy. So remember in the last video in this Manhattan mansion, I was talking again how he's got these huge statues everywhere. Here we see again on Epstein Island a big statue. I don't know who or what this is depicting, but this is Hindu or Buddhist, I'm sure. I just can't tell from the kind of darkness of this picture who exactly that is or what it's supposed to be. Interesting, a framed copy of the deed to the island. And you can see here, Little St. James Island. This was framed and placed on the wall in one of Epstein's offices on the property. Then you've got another room, kind of an office room, or a chilling room, a living room, I guess. As you can see, well, first of all, I don't know what the hell this thing is. If this is like a trash can or what is this? I can't tell what this is. It's really weird. You got a fireplace, and there appear to be two stone heads in the fireplace, once again with the heads and being watched, if I'm not wrong. And then you got these crowns up here. Lots of wearable stuff on Epstein Island. You got these crowns, which you could technically wear, these little hats. You could put those on your head. Obviously, the crown above all symbolizes a lot. Epstein had a lot of symbolism of like rulers and power and politicians all throughout his properties. So I thought those crowns were just interesting. Then you got a computer in one of Epstein's offices on the island showing he and others were doing work while they were there on the island. Just clutter, general clutter, kind of an image like this tracks with his other property in New York. There was clutter everywhere. Some places were eerily empty and vacant looking and haunting, but then you had other places that looked like the back room of a Staples, like just extremely cluttered. Papers and supplies and stuff all over the place. Now, here is a camera that was found on the island. Don't know if this was used to take CSAM photos or videos, if this was used by Epstein to capture blackmail. We don't know, but there was a camera. And remember, earlier we saw audio recording and a tripod. And now we see a camera. So you got audio and video recording devices on the island. And those are just the ones that we're actually seeing with our own eyes. Like the hidden cameras and the security cameras, they didn't take pictures of those. They're not going to talk about those. But those were definitely all throughout the island. As you could see with that huge rack and all the hard drives connecting everything to that kind of central area. Then you got a calendar from, when is this? I think 2019 maybe. A bunch of numbers. I don't know what this stuff means. Tons of numbers everywhere. Numbers. A weird piece of art drawn here on Palm Sunday. Don't know what that means. Good Friday. Holiday something. Good Friday. And then Earth Day. They've actually, Easter Monday, they've got that written down. Just a lot of just weird stuff. Nothing on Easter, though. Nothing on the day that Jesus, rose from the dead. You've got just a picture of one of the cabanas on the island. Tons of these little buildings. Another building, blue. Notice the blue. More blue. Another building. I think this was supposed to be the gym. Or they were renovating it into a gym or whatever. But this clearly looks like a dancer dancing. And there's a mirror up here. And then over here you had more mirrors. So I'm getting the vibe of like a dance or ballet studio. You know what I mean? Or an orgy room where, people could watch themselves as they engaged in these acts. And then big ass speakers hung from the ceiling too by chains. Here's another view of that same room. Like here's the gym stuff. I think this is like a punching bag or whatever. And then the mirrors. The mirrors are just creepy to me. The speakers and the mirrors. Only God knows what happened in here. Then the back room also. More mirrors. And a gigantic mirror in a more hidden portion of that kind of gym area with windows looking out at the ocean and the forest area. Then a closet with a bunch of random crap in it. What's this I spy? Is this a camera? Is this a speaker or a camera? Someone tell me. This probably is a camera in this room, I'm going to assume. So yeah, they were probably definitely doing some fucked up shit in here with the mirrors. This is the more hidden room too. And you got, I believe this is a camera up here. It's got to be. Oh, there you go. There's visual evidence of at least one of the cameras. I guess I haven't been looking in the buildings for the cameras, but it's the first time I'm noticing that. That clearly looks to be a camera that would be recording this room and anything that happened in it. Here's a 2019 Little St. James, Greater St. James, I think, Great St. James boat log with some more notes. permits that are needed. Just tons of like not industrial, but like construction stuff. It seems like there was a lot going on at Epstein Island. Potential bunker, tunnel access. Another interesting picture I found. Great big rock. You notice all these areas are just hidden. They're just really tucked in, hidden. You really wouldn't see them if you stayed up at the house or in the main area. Here we got some more blue stairs like I was talking about. You got blue tiling in the shower, or I guess bathroom. Some more blue. And you got blue doorways and blue accents on the ceilings and a little strip of blue on the carpet. You got blue door frames. You got blue, whatever this is, roofing. Got entire workrooms that are painted blue. Such a strange infatuation with blue. This is like a very dark blue, but it's still in my mind blue. Entirely blue bathrooms, blue tiling throughout the entire bathroom. So much. All right, here we go. So this is creepy as hell to me. Is this blood? What is this? Is this a bloody handprint? What the fuck? So I don't know what room this is. This is one of the back rooms on the island. You can see structurally it's completely cracking. What is this though? Clearly there's a handprint. Is this mud? Is this dirt? Or is this blood? Or is this a different substance? Really strange they didn't wipe this off. You can clearly see it's a handprint on this door opening from the inside out. And you can see there it's tiled. It's not like one of those really dirty rooms. I saw this and I went, what the fuck? It's crazy. An actual handprint. You don't see any of those anywhere else on the property. Of course, it's coming from inside of one of these rooms that appears to have no windows. And then this. They've got, what is this? Is this blood? I have no clue. It looks like splatter and then drip down. Splatter, drip down. It's on the sink too. What is that? It's in a bathroom. It's nowhere else on the wall either. It's not over here. It's not up here. It's not coming from the top, dripping down from the ceiling. If it was falling from the ceiling, it wouldn't hit the side of the wall. Something had to have sprayed, in my opinion, onto the wall here and then dripped down all around here. What is this? Is this... Now you could say to yourself, oh, it's probably just... I mean, I don't know. Maybe dirt or something. But why would it run like that then? Why would it run? Why would it be sprayed and then dribble down if it's something hard like mud or dirt? Why? Why would it be directly on the sink? And then why would there be a handprint in what appears to be the same substance in a door, pushing the door open from the inside to open it up? Why would that be there? This is one of the eeriest finds that I have found in the Epstein Island files. I mean, is this evidence? Is this proof of a murder, of a killing that may have happened here? I don't know what building these photos are from, but it's so weird, guys. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Like why this would be there and really what this means. Is it blood? Is it another substance? I'm very keen to hear your guys' thoughts on this in the comments. You got another blackmail room photo with all the wires. I think I got a couple pictures of it. Yeah, just look at all these wires and all these devices and plugs. I mean, it's just crazy this thing never set on fire. It's so messy. But I don't know what all this stuff is. There could be more hard drives here. All this stuff being plugged in. It's just, yeah, you know that it's something like that. Then you got a birthday book from 2002. Or just a thank you book. I don't know if it's a birthday book, but we don't know who wrote this. It appears to have been a victim from 2002. Dear Jeffrey, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate at a safari It was a truly wonderful experience, something I've dreamt of since I was a child. I appreciate so much your kindness and thoughtfulness. To ask me what would make me happy and then give that to me is the nicest thing anyone ever done to me. Improper grammar there. I hope I soon will have the opportunity to, in person, describe all the exciting, I think she was meant to read, moments I had in Africa thanks to you. Until we meet next time, and I can tell you all stories, I hope you can see the joy in my eyes when you look at the photos. Once again, thank you so much. Your kindness and care means the world to me. My first night in Africa. This photo is taken by Self-Timer the first night when I arrived in Tanzania, the East Coast, before traveling to the wildlife area, Silus, where the safari was. The boats were very small, and it felt a bit dangerous with the crocodiles and the hippos in the water, but as you can see in my eyes, I felt very excited and happy. I went on walking safaris a few times, which I found interesting. I walked for hours and had a guard with weapons with me. It was a very special feeling, and I felt close to the nature. This is me at a game drive. I can't read, maybe. Look at my eyes. I find this photo funny because I look like a child at Christmas who was going to open a present. I felt so happy. I look like a child at Christmas. Couldn't have picked a more disturbing way to describe this. Walking safari early in the morning. I wonder who this girl is. In the evening, a guard followed me from my tent to a fireplace where everyone that stayed at the camp had dinner. As you can see, it was quite dark in the bush in the evenings. Do you notice how satisfied I look? Do you notice how satisfied I look at this photo? I felt brave. Smiley face. The tents were big and comfortable. The noises at night were fascinating. So many noises I never heard before. Some nights I could nearly not sleep because I found it so interesting trying to figure out what kind of animals the noises come from. At this picture, I have a glass of wine before dinner together with the people staying at the camp, with the other people. So, here's the young girl who we can assume is the victim. Two men, all having a drink in the middle of nowhere in Africa. The mornings were wonderful. I took this picture by Self-Timer, and I like it very much because you can see how much I'm enjoying myself. They served tea and coffee with scones, and I took my blanket with me from the bed, had breakfast in the middle of the bush, and felt very happy. So here's the girl, whoever she is. And that's it. So we don't know who that girl is, what happened on that safari. We know the stories of Epstein obviously going to Africa with people like Clinton and Chris Tucker, amongst others. So what trip that was describing, we don't know. What happened to the girl, we don't know. Is she really a victim? We don't know. We don't know anything. They released no context with these images. So I just found it interesting, and it shows that even on those trips, like the trip to Africa, there seems to have been victims present, and Epstein was definitely bringing some of his victims with him. Then you got one of the bathrooms on the island. Once again, notice the blue on the ceiling. Chairs in the bathroom I found to be interesting. I don't know if they were for watching the shower or watching the bath or whatever. Here's a bag tag from, I think, that woman who was his employee, Mila Trestiza. Here's a picture of the audio recorder. It's an Olympus. I've used these before. This was found on the island. And then this picture, I cannot show you on YouTube. I have to completely black it out and not move the screen. But as you can see, there is a dining area, it looks like, to the right of this image. This is in a kitchen. And in the unredacted version, I've redacted this so that I could release this. In the unredacted version, there is a giant, it looks to be 24 by 36 poster or canvas print of a fully naked baby where, you know, from a distance where I'm looking at it, you can see that it's fully naked and exposed in a sink. So why you would have an image of a fully naked baby in a sink hanging next to your dining area, I don't know. But it is there, and it's very, very creepy, and a lot of people have pointed out that this is really, really wrong. But I can't show you, and there's not much more I can say, but the image is out there. It was released as a part of this. It's just deeply disturbing. And once again, we're moving into the art. Just look at all this art. Here we've got chains of naked women on floaties. I don't know if this is a man on the end or not, but just naked women with their butts out in a blue frame. Once again with the blue. Floating down what looks to be a river, completely nude. We've got some weird art. I don't know what this is or what this represents, but this was hanging. It looks like another mask, pair of eyeballs that are staring at you, hanging in one of Epstein's rooms. More art in one of the rooms. I found this to be particularly interesting, talking about Epstein owning bodies and body parts. He's got these kind of marionette posable puppets that people use for art, posed in different positions and placed on the shelf to be art. I don't know what this represents, but they have no clothing on. I don't know if that's a statement or not. There are shells everywhere. But these I found to be obviously kind of eerie. More art in that same room. Here's another body that Epstein's owning. I don't know if this is a mermaid or not, but it is half of a head, breasts, and a torso, but no arms, no legs. Just another portion of a human body that Epstein called his own. We've got a picture of some undisclosed location hanging in one of the rooms. I don't know where this is. It's not a particularly good picture. It's not like it really says anything, but it's important to Epstein, so it's important to the story, and I can't give you any answers on that. There's also another picture. Once again, I don't know whose house this is. It's obviously printed out huge and hung in. I think this is one of the bathrooms. But it just looks like a picture that you'd find in someone's photo album. It's just a house. There's no human in the photo. There's no figure. There's nothing going on. It's just a picture of a house. So whose house this is and what this means, I don't know. Got some more art here in one of the rooms. Women from behind, not showing their faces, but they're in swimming suits or bathing suits. A giant print. Here's another photo. It looks like this looks like maybe from China or somewhere like that. Some sort of temple or palace of some sort. I don't know what it is, so I can't give you any answers. And then you got this area. I don't know if this is the fully realized Cliffs Pavilion that we were talking about earlier, but once again, blue on the columns on the bottom. And then yeah, just a fully bare area with a little room with no windows that goes into the island, as you can see behind it. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this means. I don't know the purpose of this. There's no furniture. There are no chairs. There's no table. It's just this little, I don't know if you'd call it a pavilion or what you'd call it, just sitting there on the island. You got a bedroom. Here's what some of the bedrooms look like. This actually is one of the nicer areas on the island. And just kind of looks like a normal hotel bedroom, but weird. Like I said before, it's devoid of artwork. It doesn't look very identifiable. I saw a lot of people on my last video say maybe that was done on purpose so that people online or whatever couldn't trace where these images or videos were taken from. I don't know about that, but I do know that, yeah, when you think about it, this is a very bland room. No art, no photos, no pictures of Epstein, unlike in so many other areas of the property. Nothing on the walls whatsoever, and just a sea of white that would definitely make someone or some people on the bed stick out like sore thumbs. You had some shoes that were found on the island. Pink shoes with little puffs on top. Ugh, this is one of the creepiest things to me on the island. Here's a picture that Epstein had hanging in one of his rooms, and this appears to be a very older man holding hands with a very young girl. As you can see here, it's what looks to be older man's hand grabbing onto this young girl's hand with her nails. I don't know if they're done or not, but how creepy is this? And why is this hanging in his house? Why are people not questioning this when they visit this island? People like Clinton and Prince Andrew, whoever was at the island. Why do they not see this and go, this is really, really weird, dude? Why is this here? You know, here's a better picture of it. And then it begs the question, is this a picture Epstein took? Who took this photo? Where does it come from? I don't see any artist's signature anywhere on it. It's just so utterly bizarre and deeply disturbing. More of his house. So you can see blue ceilings in another one of these rooms. One of his closets with matching white shirts, which is kind of eerie to me. Here's the massage room and the electronics. Here's a blue bathroom going with the blue theme still. You got the blue bathroom, the blue mouthwash, blue toothbrush, blue toothpaste. It's just blue, blue, blue. Blue ceilings in another bathroom. Here's the shower. I thought this was eerie because those chairs that I pointed out that were in the bathroom were over here if you see the screen. So were they watching this? Is this a shower? I mean, it looks like a shower, but it also seems like it could function as a steam room maybe. What? And why have a chair in the bathroom? It's so weird. Why a fully plush, even just this chair in the bathroom? Is someone going to watch you take a bath, take a shower? I mean, probably at this island, but normally people don't have full-on plush chairs in their bathrooms like this. You got, again, here's the art that we started the video off with the prey and the predators chasing it. More views of the kind of study with all the books at Epstein's kind of main room on the island. I don't know who this is. I'm assuming this is another Greek mythological figure. If someone could figure that out, that would be great. But once again, they're watching out towards the center of the room. I don't know who it is or what it represents. So many different things to pick apart in this room that are so weird. The chairs in the center and the MacBook or the Macintosh and everything. Another statue. I don't know what this is. This looks to be another Greek guy, maybe. It looks like his hands on some rocks, maybe knelt over. I don't know what that represents. So if someone could enlighten me, that would be phenomenal. Same with this head. I don't know who this belongs to. Here's another view of that one statue where I can't really tell what's going on. And the angel guy back here. There's just so much going on that you can't ever really know what it all is or what it all means. This looks to be a young girl wearing really extra large pants. Don't know who took this photo or where or who the girl is. And then, yeah, here's a closer picture of Epstein with... This is Epstein with a child on his private plane. Clearly, he looks extremely happy. We don't know whose kid this is. Is this a dignitary's kid? Is this one of his friend's children? Is this someone Epstein was trafficking? Is this a relative of Epstein's? We don't know. But he's got a picture of him with a kid in his lap on the Lolita Express, printed out and displayed in the island's kind of grand room. Here are those pictures we talked about at the beginning where he seems to, once again, I don't know if this is him or not, but there seems to be a kid or a baby on the plane with him. More victims with their faces redacted. More sculptures. Look at all these sculptures. Who are these people? I mean, talk about owning the heads and parts of people in Greek mythology. I mean, this is clearly, I think, Greek. I don't know what they are. Same with this one. I don't know who this is or what this is supposed to represent. It's so kind of blurry. But, and I don't know. It's just so weird. This, I think, is a woman pleasuring herself over here on a chair. Statue of that. Next to this guy. I think this is the guy I was just talking about. His junk is out. I don't know what's going on there, but lots of these statues everywhere, man. I don't know what they are or who they're supposed to represent. Sorry, we're getting random at the very end. These things are just so scattered. More of the masks in the dental room. More of the masks. So many of the masks. What's up with the masks? I don't know what's up with them. And then the fact that there's a creepy clown mask. And then this guy who's like looking at the camera. Or looking at the viewer. More of the masks. More of the masks. And the chair. Once again, more of the masks. If you guys recognize any of these people, please do comment it as well and let me know who you think these people represent or who they are. There's so many of them. Like, each of these have to be modeled after someone, I would imagine. I've seen some people say they were old Hollywood. Other people say they were political figures. I don't really know, but there's just so many of them. It's just so off-putting. Like, why? Oh, yeah. Here you go. I'll redact this again. Here's the picture of the baby in the sink. Don't know whose kid this is. Don't know the context of the photo. Just know that it's really weird. And here's the other view of that kitchen. Completely normal. But then you got a picture of a naked baby to the right when everyone's eating. It's just like, I don't know. Here's a closer up view. Oh, in the fireplace, you also got statues. I don't know who or what this is. Once again, here are those kind of crowns that I was saying earlier you could put on your head, or they could be decorative, symbolizing power and everything. There's speakers up here too. And then this thing to the side, I still don't know what this thing is. But, oh, it's plugged in. If anyone knows what this is, please let me know. Blue chairs in one of the rooms. A chest of what appears to maybe be treasure. Another close-up view of that kind of eerie art. Oh, shit. I've seen it now. I thought that this was a mask or like a face right here. Now I'm seeing that it's a woman stretching downwards with her head and her arms. I thought these were eyeballs. This was a mouth, and this was like just a creepy head sticking up. But no, it's a woman. Well, that's eerie. Oh, well. Interestingly, here's one of his rooms with koalas. Koalas holding stuff up. This is why I saved this picture. Interestingly, just it's so weird. Like, what the hell? But then up here, what is this? Is this a camera? What's this up here? In the corner of another one of the rooms. I forget to keep looking for these things, but this is probably a recording device in another one of his rooms. I'm sure that they were in every room. Here's more of his tech in the place. A view from the island looking out over the beautiful ocean. Close up of those naked girls on the floaties. Another version of Epstein holding what looks to be the child. Jim. I don't know why I saved that. Here's that image that Epstein had in his closet of Princess Diana and Charles, King Charles. This random divorce is no bar to throne, says Prince. This random headline and newspaper cut out and meticulously framed and then hung up in Epstein's closet. So the meaning of this is unknown. No one that I could see online. Oh, look at that. This is interesting. Breakdown of royal marriages blamed on media pressure. Now this is Epstein right here. The camera is always watching. So maybe that's a little subtle poke or barb from Epstein. Here we go. To almost finish this whole thing out, we got what looks to me to be the Greek god Pan. He's blowing a flute. Over here he's got a trident, hooves, a centaur sort of creature. Pan represents a lot of different things. Mischievous activity and chaos. That's where pandemonium comes from, because he represented all this chaotic energy, and just there were entire cults of Pan back in the day. I went to a cave in Greece where they used to worship Pan, and Socrates saw water running up the sides of the cave and reported all this stuff, and the cave was shut down for decades while the Greek military conducted experiments in it. It's a weird thing. Pan is a very strange, weird god to have on the island for a number of different reasons, and I'm sure people in the comments are going to come up with a lot more, but this just goes to show that this was Epstein's kind of obsession, and a lot of predators are obsessed with ancient Greece because of the pederasty and the stuff that came along with it, and the adult young boy relationships that were semi-common back then. I mean, there's an entire Wikipedia page about this subject. Look at right here, and you could go and read about it all day. It's extremely thorough. So there's a reason why a lot of these predators, like one of the magazines that we talked about recently, that John David Norman, the notorious predator, along with Frank Sheldon, another notorious predator, they were writing for. It was a newsletter / magazine marketed to predators in the United States, and it was called Hermes, or Hermes, which is another reference to Greek mythology. So when you got Pan and you got all these statues, there's clearly a motif here, and there's clearly some sort of reverence that Epstein holds for these deities and these stories. Now, why? Why does he hold these stories and figures in reverence? That is the unexplained part. But it's known that he and Ghislaine were obsessed with Atlantis. Just look at Zorro Ranch, and you see all the Greek mythology, and you see all these figures throughout all of his properties. There's clearly something here that he's either trying to say to his guests, or he's trying to imply to his guests, or that represents a part of him. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I know this video's been extremely long. We're almost done. Here's one more pic of the blue that I thought I'd point out. Blue ceiling, blue wall, blue rug, blue device thingy. And that's it. So, folks, that's it. And keep in mind, there are thousands of pictures from the Epstein Island drop. And I went through all of them, and those were the photos that I found to be the most compelling / the most troubling. And make of this what you will. I would love for you guys to comment your thoughts and theories in the comment section, because it is so interesting to me, but it's just bizarre, isn't it? It's so bizarre. What's up with the blue? What's up with the Greek mythology? What's up with all the artwork? What's up with the kind of rooms with no windows? Are they really storage rooms? Did they have a different purpose? Then you have the pavilion with the 7 pillars that is being constructed, or that Epstein wanted to construct on the cliffs with only 2 walls. You have the handprint on the door and what looks to be blood splatter in one of the rooms and on the sink. You've got the blackmail apparatus, the machinery and the wiring and the hard drives. You've got so many things to think about here. And in addition to all the photos of victims and Epstein, I mean, the especially troubling ones are Epstein with what appear to be really young children or toddlers. But this is the beginning of our intense Epstein deep dive series. I've been working endlessly to analyze these files. I've been through tens of thousands of them at this point, and we're going to be doing these deep dives almost every other day throughout all of January. So if you want to learn about the Epstein story as it's unfolding, as we are learning things, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts, because you have to like the video, you have to comment on the video, you got to share the video for YouTube to see that people are actually tuning in and they want to see this stuff. So it's completely free to like the video and to comment, and it helps me so much. Also, if you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could leave me a 5-star review, that would be incredible as well. But until next time, y'all, thank you for joining me on this extremely long and thorough deep dive. My name is Colin Browin. Stay suspicious, always question everything, keep that tinfoil hat on, and I'll see you guys next week.